Good morning, happy friends. Even Star here in the shed at Hancock's House of Happy, home of free cross stitch patterns for the discerning geek and better mental health. Which reminds me, I really do need to do a video about better mental health and cross stitch at some point. But today, I'm here to talk to you about all the new free cross stitch designs coming to the website next week. So right now we're just about the end of like Boss Week or Boss Woman Week. I really hope you enjoyed Boss Woman Week. I know that I really enjoyed making those designs and writing about them and sharing them with you. I will probably be doing a Boss Man, or general just boss without the woman week at some point in the future, because we all have guys in our lives that are bosses that maybe aren't serene goddesses. But anyway, this week it is coming to fall, so it's officially fall next week, and I wanted to do a week of autumn or fall inspired designs, more specifically fall fair inspired designs. So where I grew up, our community had a fall fair every year around this time. Could have been a little bit earlier, in September, but I always remember it was in September time. And I do remember my family always entered many of the competitions in the fall fair. My mom did baking and canning, and my granddad put in all of his veg, because he had a really great garden. He loved to garden and grow vegetables and fruit. My brother and I would enter all the kids competitions. Like, we'd build a creature out of vegetables or flowers or something. So that's something from this time of year that I always remember very fondly. And the nights are drawing in. It's getting dark very early, and it's dark in the morning as well. So I was inspired to make a few designs that celebrate fall, because even though the days are getting shorter, I really like this time of year with the more moderate weather. We get a little bit more rain here in Essex in the UK in the fall. So without further ado, let's launch into the new designs for next week. The first design I've got up is similar to last week. It's kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of a pun that I've been in love with for a long time. Corn star! Right? Rather than porn star. See what I did there? Anyway, yes, so it's like sometimes I make a cross stitch design, or some art, and it's just like, because something just comes into my head, and it's visual, or some words that I like, and that's where it ends up, right? So I'm hoping that somebody's gonna find this a little bit funny. I guess it falls into the sort of niche of snarky. I don't know if you'd call it subversive cross stitch, but corn star. And if you've got a farmer in your life, like my granddad would grow corn every single year, and Canadian sweet corn is like the best sweet corn in the world. Fight me. And he'd win prizes for his corn, and I always remember late summers having fresh corn out of the garden. So he was a corn star, right? So I'm sure you've got somebody who grows corn in their back garden or in their allotment, and they are really proud of their produce. I think they'd love this design, corn star. The next design we have up is a sweet, simple design. This is kind of comes from what I call my Ort cloud. I don't, when I design stuff, it isn't always towards a theme. It's like I say, it's just something comes into my head, and I think that would make a really good cross-stitch design. And sometimes I don't really know where to fit it in on the website schedule for designs, but I did this sort of sweet, simple bee with a beehive. For some reason, people kind of associate this motif with the autumn, possibly because, the bees are starting to wind down. They've made the honey for the winter time. They're starting to wind down at the hive. It's time to kick all the kids out and go on holiday. Um, so I love this design because it is so simple. This is a perfect cross stitch design for a beginner. It has very few colors. They are just blocks of colors. They're not really mixed up in any sort of way. Shapes are really simple. You could just, even an advanced cross stitch would probably enjoy this because you just kind of like zone out and count all of one color all the way across for like, 6 inches. That's kind of awesome, right? You just kind of like tune out. I like doing cross stitch like that sometimes, especially if I've got, something on my mind that I'm worrying about. It really helps me sort of get out of that sort of negative thought spiral because I have to concentrate on counting and keeping track of so many stitches of the same color. Um, so, yes. And I like, I love bees, and I just thought this was like such a cute little motif. And you could change those colors, right? You could have a pink beehive, or blue, or purple, or whatever color you want, right? And I just think it's not for any sort of person or age group in particular. It might be good for like a kid's room or baby shower, but I think it would just be really sweet up in the kitchen or anywhere, really. So next design, which is one that you might remember from a little while ago. So I kind of lament my lack of skills in cross stitch design in some areas to the point where I will avoid doing them, and I put this up on the Facebook page as a sort of sneak peek preview what I'm working on, because I want to get better at putting in what they call back stitching in cross stitch. So it's the outline stitches that aren't cross stitches, but they'll outline shapes or areas to bring more definition. Where, if you're just working with what are essentially pixels, it's very hard to get sometimes really crisp lines when you're doing that. And there are some designs demand that. So this was sort of a little study for me in experimenting with what I can do with those outlining stitches, where they can be used to bring definition. And it's 3 little kawaii cute jars, because this is the time of year I'm canning. I've got a freezer full of fruit from the hedgerows that I'll be making jams and jellies and things out of. I've got a kilogram or a couple of kilograms of green tomatoes that tomatoes just aren't going to ripen now. It's late in the season. Make green tomato jam out of those. So, this is where people have, if you've got lots of zucchinis and things, just sort of left over from the summer that you're just not going to be able to eat fresh. You stick them in a jar and can them. So you've got 3 little jars here of varying sizes. One's relish, one looks like it might be plum. I think there's like maybe a raspberry jam's a little short one there. If you've got a canner in your family or somebody who just likes like cute kitchen stuff, I think this is really sweet. It's like I spoke about it last week. My mom cans, and she taught me to can. That's why I love making jams and jellies and wine this time of year. Even though I don't eat jams or jellies because I don't eat a lot of, I'm kind of off sugar. I do drink wine though. So I think this would be a really sweet cross stitch for somebody's canner of their kitchen. It's okay. So this next design, it's really funny. A lot of these designs, I think 3 of them. I think the beehive and the kawaii jars, and then this next one, I think I put all up on the Facebook for feedback from you guys, which I always appreciate, because I want to give you guys what you want. Like, what do you want to cross stitch, right? Like, there's some times where I do just make stuff for me because that's how I feel and that's what I want to express. But also, I have to accept the fact that I have an audience that wants certain kinds of cross stitch, product. This is one of those things where I'd prefer to know. It's like, well, what do you like about it? And this is also, again, I think it was like all sort of in the same period of time where I was sort of expanding my backstitching skills, which I'm still working on, and I've got some designs coming up where there's going to be sort of more of that detailing. I like to have a balance of those more complex designs and really simple ones like the beehive one, because not everybody's at the same level, not everybody likes the same thing. But this is this cute little hedgehog. I don't really know how this came to me. Hedgehogs I associate with fall and autumn here in the UK because this is the time of year they go and hibernate. They go find piles of leaves and twigs and stuff, and they burrow themselves in. And you have to be careful because in the UK we have November the 5th, which is Guy Fawkes Day, and they call it Bonfire Night, and that's I don't know. I might explain this closer to the actual bonfire night. I might do some bonfire night designs for my UK audience. You have to be careful because, you know, you compile all your bonfire stuff like weeks in advance. And you have to be careful because all the hedgehogs will go in there and hibernate. So you kind of have to poke your bonfire before you light it to make sure there's no hedgehogs in there. So I thought this sort of reversed the falling leaves of autumn. He's holding like some like autumn leaf balloons that are actually floating, and I just think he's like a cute little guy. Yeah. And finally, more fall fare, right? So we've had you know, fall fare jams and jellies, fall fare honey, fall fare corn. This is very fall fare. It's the Veg Box. And even here in the UK, I've been to a couple of late summer harvest shows here in the UK, and communities will have, it's the same thing, you know, who has the longest runner bean, you know, the biggest pumpkin, and then there'll be a competition for the Veg Box, which is like a box of just like mixed vegetables. And I think this is something like my granddad used to do. It was definitely something I remember at the fall fair. Was one of the competitions was the mixed veg, and I've got a first prize blue ribbon on there, and there's a little bit of a story there. Well, not really a story. In Canada, and I believe in the United States, I don't know what the case is anywhere else. It's just those are the cultures I know, as opposed to the United Kingdom. That first prize is always a blue ribbon. I was very confused when I first moved to the United Kingdom. Well, about many things, you know, grape soda being one of them, not existing here. And that was, I went to like a harvest fair or something like that very early on. And there were red ribbons. In the United Kingdom, red is first prize and blue is second. And I always thought that was like just a little bit, why? Like, how did blue or red become like transposed across continents like that? But I've used a blue ribbon here because I am Canadian, and that will always be in my head. Blue ribbon is first place, right? And I think I still have blue ribbons from my fall fair competition days for like the best, I think, chocolate chip cookie or scones or whatever when I was a kid. So you got a nice, I like this design. It's so colorful. It's so simple. It's really small. Again, for the gardener or, you know, veg person in your life, I think they would probably love this to have up in their, like, even in their garden shed, if not their kitchen. So there you go. Now, right, we also have a Patreon exclusive coming next week. Yes, and here it is. It is a giant vegetable sampler, and I really love designing this. I think, well, because, again, all those memories of my childhood and fall fairs and going and seeing people's vegetables, you know, the biggest marrow, the longest chili pepper, whatever it was, right? And it was like so colorful and fun to do, and try and design all the vegetables and get them to fit in an aesthetically pleasing way within that sort of square frame. And you've got, you know, all the veg represented there. You got some corn, you've got some eggplant, or they call that aubergine here in the UK. You've got a marrow or a squash. You've got peppers, chili peppers, garlic, mushrooms, carrots, tomatoes, onions. And a leak there, random leak. So this is the September Patreon exclusive one of 3. And if you would like this cross-stitch design to download and stitch, subscribing to me on Patreon is only $2 a month, and you get at least 3 exclusive cross-stitch designs like this one, really big multi-page. This is like a really big multi-page design. You get 3 of those per month to download and stitch, and they come as PDFs. They're printable PDFs across multiple pages. You get the color key and everything in there, as well as any instructions that you might need to design them. And if you are, there's still time, if you're one of my first 25 Patreon subscribers and you subscribe for a year, you get one of these little guys. Yes, you get happy little paper bag bear at the end of 12 months, at the end of your 12-month subscription. Yes, they are the perfect travel companion. I have one of these guys who I made when I couldn't take my real bear with me, which is what these guys were inspired by. And he goes everywhere with me now when I'm traveling, goes sailing with us, all sorts. Yes, he's been pictured in many locations, and I give people these guys, and they take them traveling with them and send me pictures of them in random places doing random things. It's quite amusing. Anyway, I've been rambling for quite a long time. Those are all your free cross-stitch charts, as well as your Patreon exclusive, coming next week to the website. I hope you have had a great week, because you'll be seeing this on Friday, and that you have a great weekend as well. And no matter what you do, I'm sure you're going to be fabulous at it. And until next time, I'll see you all later. Okay, bye.